Rivers of the Mind Season 2.5 Episode 6, whose title will be decided at a later date, featuring Michelle Pearl, Timmy Vilgiate, Collin and Estes.
I saw Marcia through the glass door to the coffee shop and my stomach filled with butterflies. Felt like a goddamn schoolboy, completely smitten in spite of how tired and delirious I was from last night. Thankfully, she didn't see me there yet. She was looking at her phone when I got there, her normally exuberant and joyful face now serious and intense. She had a pair of blue earbuds in her ears, and she looked like she hadn't ordered anything quite yet. She wore a yellow and white blouse with red flowers, straps that exposed her freckled shoulders. An elegant smoky eyeshadow ringed her eyes. She had painted her lips bright red. Nervously, I pried the door open and I waved to her. She fumbled with the phone and the headphones to set them on the table and walked across.
Hey there, Phillip.
She wrapped her arms around me in a tight, warm hug. The smell of her perfume was so sweet, I felt her soft and delicate hair graze the side of my face.
Aliens had invaded the fucking planet. I didn't want to freak out my new work friend, but I was watching the video for like the 8th time that morning when he got there, and now aliens. They were all I could think about. When I was getting ready, I was so distracted by the video that I kept messing up my eyeliner. Now I looked like a goddamn raccoon. When I went in to hug him, I could feel the sharp stubble from his chin, the soft flannel of his shirt. He looked tired. Just seeing how tired he looked made me realize that I was tired. Holy shit, was I tired.
Glad to see you didn't stand me up.
Oh, I never do that. Did I have a reputation? Did people at the office think I was flaky? He stared at me for a little bit. He didn't know what to say. He was probably trying to avoid making jokes about the fact that I looked like a goddamn raccoon.
Can I get you something? Coffee, a latte?
Oh, that's so nice of you. Sure, I'd love that.
She smiled, a sweet and radiant smile.
Coffee's fine.
With room? Or...
Room? For cream, yeah, but I'll doctor it. You want me to come along?
Sure, I don't see why not.
Pretty long day yesterday, huh? Bet you've been dying to get a day off.
You better believe it. We, got called in last night and ended up patrolling till about 5 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, you must be exhausted.
Little bit. Hoping that this, little bit of nature's medicine they call coffee might help with that.
I feel bad. I should have given you my number so we could have picked another day.
Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. I've been looking forward to this all weekend. Can't miss the chance to spend time with a lovely girl like yourself. She blushed, twirling her hair and laughing.
The fuck? Wait a second. Was this a date? Did my work friend want to date me? What the fuck? No, I should get my own coffee. I should definitely get my own coffee. What do I say? I can't just stand here laughing like some kind of deranged lunatic. That's nice of you. Just let me know if you want to head home and get back to bed. Sleep, you know.
She looked back and forth, sort of batting her eyelashes. Boy, she sure was a flirt. Suddenly, the faintest hint of pain crept through some of the haze. I thought about my wife. Thought about how easily she'd lied to me. I wondered if I was ready to... No, I stopped myself from thinking about it. I sure as hell wasn't going to let that ruin the first shot I'd had at a relationship since the divorce. So... You, got your master's, huh? When'd you graduate?
Yep. University of Indiana, 2014.
You from there, or?
Well, my family's from Wisconsin, actually. Wisconsin.
She looked off behind her, towards a mural of some kind of old western scene. Probably assessing the brushstrokes or the color palette.
I looked behind me to make sure no one was stealing my phone. My phone was in my purse. Never mind. Wait, is that my phone? No, that's not my phone. I felt uncomfortable all of a sudden, which really sucked. But he seemed like he was an okay guy, at least. Respectful. Maybe my crazy dream of a new work friend would materialize after all. My mom and dad were both artists, so they always had these books lying around. Big books, full of art from different countries, different time periods.
You draw it all?
No, I can hardly hold a pencil still without breaking it. I like looking at art, though.
She looked towards me, smiling again. Coming closer to the cash register, her arm brushed up against me and she leaned up against the counter, squinting so as to see the menu.
Together or separate?
Separate. It's fine. I'm a big girl. I can buy my own coffee.
Marcia winked and turned her head back around, flipping her hair over her shoulders seductively. I tried to be a gentleman about it, but I couldn't help but look her up and down. Sweet baby Jesus, that was a fine-looking woman.
My hair was in my goddamn face, and they'd arranged the menu, so nothing was where I remembered it. I tried to hide how frustrated I was. You still have that bacon and guacamole bagel? I asked, trying as hard as I could not to sound angry.
Yes, we do.
I'll take that, please. Someone started at the espresso machine. It screamed like someone had torn a goddamn hole in the universe. I shut my eyes, and instead of plugging my ears, which I knew would have made me stand up, I tapped my fingers on the counter, focusing on their gentle rhythm, which slowly calmed me down. A cup of coffee, too, if you don't mind?
For here to go.
For here, but put it in a to-go cup, I instructed, trying to sound as gracious as I could. They gave me a mug once, and their mug had these annoying little gemstones embedded in them, and I cringed to even think about having to hold it in my hand again. The cashier muttered the total, which I could not hear perfectly well since I was still recovering from the noise of the espresso machine. Coupled with the steadily crescendoing noise of the coffee shop, it made it hard for me to think clearly. I handed the clerk my credit card, and she smiled, looking back over at Phillip to see if I could gauge whether or not he thought I was acting weird. I was acting normal, right? I was keeping it together.
Marcia shyly glanced back at me, her right hip leaning up against the side of the counter. I wondered if she was expecting to go someplace with me or something, so I made sure to order my coffee to go, too, and I got myself a breakfast burrito. We headed back to our seat with an order number. Marcia rested her hand on the table, tapping her fingers in silent, repetitive triplets. Brightly and warmly she smiled. I felt calm, calmer than I'd felt since I got my powers. I leaned into the feeling, this cheerful and gentle feeling that she seemed to project.
Returning to this spot started to calm me down. I didn't hear the espresso machine or the chatter around us, just the music playing overhead. I could feel myself start to relax, to cool down. Glad that I hadn't made a fool of myself or said anything fatally weird to my new friend, I leaned closer so we could hear each other. So how long have you been interested in art history?
Oh, gosh, well, when I was around 12 years old, my parents took me to the museum out in Houston, and I hated the first part we went through. There were lots of old Renaissance paintings. I thought it was boring.
You thought it was boring.
But then we really started getting to more of the modern art. And I remember the moment it really hit me. It was a 1907 piece by Claude Monet, Water Lilies.
Yeah, those are painted based off of a water meadow he had planted at his house. Monet was very interested in botany and wrote very specific instructions to his gardeners about how to care for the grounds and lay out the garden. Another interesting thing, he had cataracts, and after he had them removed, some people think he could see certain frequencies of ultraviolet light. He repainted some of the water lilies after the cataract surgery, and they were bluer than before.
I'd heard something about that. But anyway, that was the first time I'd really liked art. I liked seeing the big brush strokes, the colors. Not so much seeing some kind of perfect picture, but emotion. After all, is what they... Oh, someone came to bring us our food. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you.
And I studied in college at first, but I stopped right there. You ain't told no one about that. Don't want this young lady thinking you're some kind of drug user. Got persuaded there was a better future for me in criminal justice, and I gave up, which I hate to say.
Oh, well, that's too bad. But do you like law enforcement, at least?
I suppose it's not too bad. I get to protect and serve the community I grew up in, and when I can, I still go down to Austin or San Antonio, when I have the time.
I'd love to go with you sometime. I haven't seen many of the galleries around here. Do they have good collections?
McNay's, the first modern art museum in the country, that's out in San Antonio. Then you got the Blanton in Austin. Blanton's pretty nice, got a good collection. If I were to choose between them, though, I'd go with San Antonio, but it's a toss-up. There's some good work up in Dallas, too. They've got the Port of Morgat there. It started to hit me as I talked about the art galleries in Texas that Marcia very rarely stopped smiling. Only when she thought someone wasn't looking, and then she'd get very serious. The way I'd seen her through the door when I first got here. She had a bright look in her eyes, but now that we were sitting down across from each other, something seemed off. Like she was looking right through me, almost looked a little robotic. Pretty, but almost too pretty. Get a hold of yourself, Phillip. You're getting cold feet because she's what, too pretty? Too happy?
He looked sweet when he talked about this. I could see this innocent gleam in his eye when he talked about Monet, gruff as he looked from the outside. I sipped my coffee and listened to him tell me more about the art galleries in Texas. He knew so much about them. Huh. I was on a date. A date. I could live with that, I guess. We'll have to plan a day trip at some point, I guess.
Somewhat mechanically, she reached for her sandwich, misestimating the distance between her hand and the plate, and dipping her pinky finger into a metal cup full of mayonnaise. Sure, I'd be happy to show you. So do you specialize in Impressionism?
Well, I've always loved it, but I did my thesis on, photography.
Photography, huh? Realizing that her hand was covered in mayonnaise, she stared blankly at her finger for a moment before pulling it out and sticking it into her mouth to clean off the mayonnaise. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's my specialty. So if you ever find an antique cyanotype that you need to conserve, I'm your girl.
Huh. Interesting. Can't say I've ever found one of those, but with how often I get to cleaning out my attic, you never know. What was your dissertation on?
Are you sure you want to know?
Well, I don't know. Do I?
I don't usually, mention that on the first date. No, not that this is a date. Not that this is a date. It's not a date. No, but yeah, you really want to know?
Now you've got me curious. I thought back to yesterday. What Grace had told me, there was truth to it. Marcia was not all there. She was gorgeous, though. I mean, my God, and I hadn't gotten to talk to anyone about art history in a long time, but something was off about her.
Okay, so you know how they used to lynch people in the South?
Marcia asked, uncomfortably loudly as she did so. I am familiar with that unfortunate bit of history, yes?
Well, I studied the visual culture of lynching. Lynching photographs, cartoons, things like that.
That sounds...
Disturbing? Yeah. Still have a little bit of PTSD from looking at some of these photos. Lynching really was horrifying. You had people burned alive. Was this an acceptable topic of conversation? It wasn't, was it? Some people were looking at me. I should change the subject. Right. You can read it sometime. If you ever want to learn about it, I published a couple of papers on it. Sorry, that's a little morbid. I'm not a super morbid person, just so you know. Just concerned about racial injustice.
Oh,
Like, I don't like looking at dead bodies.
Right.
I'm not a serial killer or anything.
No.
Do you mind if I go to the bathroom? Sorry, I need to stop myself. I need to stop myself before my work friend thinks I'm some kind of deranged psychopath.
As she walked away, with a perfectly seductive and smooth walk, I again felt the same sense of butterflies I'd had at the beginning of the coffee date, but it was now clouded by the sense that Marcia had a couple screws loose. Eventually, Marcia returned from the bathroom, and I could see her eyes glisten with what almost looked like tears. God damn it, you know what it was? It was me. I was getting too relaxed. Too, I don't know, vulnerable. She started opening up more than she meant to, probably. As she sat down, I reached out a hand to her. Are you all right? She wiped the corner of her eye.
What are you talking about? It's not like I was crying in the bathroom because I can't hold a normal conversation. Did I mean to say that? I didn't feel like I'd actually wanted to say that, like it had slipped from my mouth without me fully realizing what was happening. Sorry, I'm embarrassed.
Oh, don't be. I'm sorry if I seemed a little weirded out. I just didn't know what to think about it, and it's such an emotional topic. I wasn't really sure what to say.
I'm pretty used to people think I'm crazy, so if you...
Oh, so am I.
Really?
Sure I am. I was abducted by aliens. Did I say that out loud? Someone looked over their shoulder at me.
Wait, what?
You wanna, go on a walk?
Did I want to go on a walk? Sure. You know, there's actually this video I was watching this morning about something like that.
About aliens?
Yeah. I'll tell you while we walk.
We stood up and moved towards the door. Keep it together, Phillip. Don't tell her too much. Especially not about the government experimenting on you or your, superpowers. That might be a little much.
So they did some kind of experiment on you? Give you superpowers?
Well, that's what I think.
Huh. What's your superpower? This was a weird date. We were both very weird people, and we were on a very weird date, and it made me feel weird. Happy, but weird. Come on, wake up.
Hello? Who's there? Phillip?
It's me, Grace. I need to talk to you.
Is there a way this discussion can happen a few hours?
No, it's too important.
Hey, give me a second. Let me unlock the gate for you. Had a long night too, huh?
You don't know the half of it.
Where's Phillip?
On some kind of date with a coworker? I don't know.
Right. Well, come on in. I was just preparing to eat some oatmeal. Can I interest you in any? I can start up a pot of coffee too if you'd like.
Sure, I could use some coffee. What kind of oatmeal do you have? Dusty disappeared into a closet before coming back with a huge blue barrel on a dolly.
I buy my oats in bulk. Most brand name oatmeal manufacturers are too deeply tied with the military-industrial complex for me to trust them.
I see.
Let me get some water running on the stove. I'm sorry about the state of the house. I didn't expect anyone to come over today. So what's the matter?
I don't know where to start. First off, on Friday, the chief pulled me aside and warned me about looking into cold cases that might involve the water treatment facility. It was sketchy. I played it off, but it made me uncomfortable. He didn't want me to look into that girl, Marianne's murder, for my own safety, he said.
Interesting. It's very suspicious. So he must know that they're hiding something.
They're hiding something, all right. We got called in to run security at the field hospital yesterday.
I remember that.
Well, this guy, Agent Milton Carter, I think was his full name, he's convinced you're some kind of foreign agent. Ha! And fed everyone the story about the dirty bomb. But then, when we actually got to the field hospital, he and this other lady, I can't remember her name, they both gave us different stories. He told me that it was a railgun. The doctor told Phillip that the sinkhole was caused by a wormhole device.
A wormhole device? Railgun? They must be feeding you different, equally implausible stories to see whether or not you'll pass them along to me. By the way, I meant to ask you. I have one dark roast and one light roast coffee already ground and ready to serve. Which one do you prefer?
Dark, please.
Alright, sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
You're fine. But like I was saying, they were telling us different stories. But clearly there was no dirty bomb, so we couldn't tell why they'd bother taking all these witnesses into custody.
Well, they likely wanted to verify that they didn't know anything about the aliens. That or they themselves were aliens.
Sure, I'd buy that. Anyway, I had a migraine all day. When we were driving home, I heard this voice I didn't recognize in the back seat of my car.
Yes?
Could Grace hear the voice of the narrator too?
It was this monster. Almost looked like a walking corpse. And he told us to get out of the car. He led us towards this field to burn us alive before he suddenly froze still and we went back in time. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Phillip and I were back in the car, talking like normal, and he couldn't remember what had happened. I remembered it happening. Over and over. In retrospect, I could suddenly remember what it had felt like to be in that forest, to be burnt alive. That whole night it kept happening. Little insignificant moments where I'd travel back in time and live something again. Only tiny details were changing, just enough that you'd notice. It gave me this awful headache. I'd never been in so much pain in my life. You think I'm crazy, don't you? God damn it, if anyone was gonna believe me.
No, I believe you. I'm just trying to think. This this monster, he didn't have a fishing pole, did he?
He did. I remember seeing him right after the explosion. He walked across the soccer field.
I think I saw him this morning. I was still half asleep. I couldn't move.
So he was real.
We both saw him.
Whoever he was.
More like whatever. I need to make sure I post about this. Some kind of alien invasion using time travel as a weapon.
What I don't get is why it kept restarting. One time when he froze, his eye flew out of his head, I swear.
So something must have been fighting him. Interesting. Very interesting. Perhaps some sort of battle or war has been going on, out of public view, something the government doesn't want us to know about so we don't get alarmed.
You really think so?
Yes. Some kind of war between advanced alien civilizations. I need to write this down. Wait, shit, the water's boiling. Do you mind scooping some oatmeal into the pot?
Sure, 2 scoops, or...
Yes, perfect. Thank you, and please help yourself to the coffee.
Dusty hurried to his computer.
Logging in and struggling to drown out the narrator's voice. How to piece all of this together? Opening my word processor, I wrote down what I knew so far, a list of the key points, and tried to consolidate them together. Grace helped me parse through a few drafts until I had what I believed to be a working synthesis of the theory. Earth had been attacked by a spacefaring race with the power to travel through time. I made sure to be clear as I could be, that this was only a theory based on anecdotal reports from a colleague. I invited anyone else who had seen the time traveler as well to come forward. Alright, it's posted. Thanks for taking over with the oatmeal.
Sure. It's not exactly how I prefer to spend my Sunday morning, but I'm happy to help.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you don't mind my asking, but I couldn't help but notice, is there a reason why all of your bowls are from the 37th Annual Veterinary Catheter Manufacturers Conference in Boise, Idaho?
Well, actually... I wonder who that could be. Hello? Who's there?
It's me, Dusty. Brought along a friend. Said she's a big fan of yours. Thought she might be able to help us out.
A big fan of mine, eh? Grace peered through the blinds.
Ugh, Marcia. She's a receptionist at the police station.
Can she be trusted?
She's a little bit of an airhead. Sort of gossipy.
You still there, Dusty?
I'm still here. Listen, before I let anyone come onto my property, I need to speak with them. Can you have your friend come to the microphone, please?
Hi. This is Marcia Fleming. I'm from Wisconsin. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Miss Fleming. What's your occupation?
I'm a receptionist at the police station. Am I speaking too loud?
A little bit.
Okay, I'll try to speak quieter.
Well, thank you, but...
Is this a good volume?
Sure. Anyway, what did you do before that?
I was studying for my master's at the University of Indiana.
A master's? In what?
Art history.
I'm Googling her now.
Are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm just double-checking your information. Are you the same Marcia Fleming who wrote an article in a journal entitled Early Popular Visual Culture on lynchings, I believe?
Lynchings?
That's correct. It's such an honor that you read my article. Isn't it such an interesting topic? I mean, did you look up my name?
I did. Now how did you end up here in the hill country?
Well, I thought I had a curator job lined up, but it fell through, so I applied and took the first thing I could.
Right. I can't find anything suspicious online. She is who she says she is, more likely than not.
I read your blog. I've watched the video from yesterday at least 20 times already, and I really think you're onto something.
What do you think, Grace?
What do I think? I'm surprised she has a master's, I guess, but I'm telling you, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Well, the house has a Faraday cage built into the walls. We can sweep her for recording devices, but the government can't even tap her cell phone from in here.
I was wondering why I couldn't get service.
It's for your own safety, and mine. Anyway, if Phillip trusts her, I trust his judgment. I'll see what she wants.
Hello?
I'll come out and let you in. I hurried out the door and into the yard. I could see why Grace hated Marcia almost immediately, and at the same time, I understood why Phillip trusted her. She was beautiful, almost impossibly beautiful. I froze in place looking at her skeptically. Someone like that could have easily been sent to infiltrate my house. Phillip had probably already told her everything. Just look at him. Love-struck, hopeless, pathetic.
Hey, you must be Dusty, huh?
I am, yes. You're Marcia, right?
She's trustworthy, Dusty.
Yeah, sure she is. So, Marcia, before I let you into my house, what interests you in my blog?
Oh, I've always been curious about aliens and stuff, you know? The paranormal.
She hesitated slightly when she answered, perhaps a nervous tick. But perhaps she was worried I was catching on to her plot. Right. And how did you become interested in that?
Well, when I was little, I swore I saw a flying saucer. We were camping out by Lake Superior one summer, and I went out of my tent at night when everyone was asleep, and I saw this big flying metal disc in the sky, covered in lights, soaring away from me. And plus, my house I grew up in was haunted. I don't know that for sure, you know, like who knows if ghosts are real or something, but yeah, sorry, I don't want to ramble too much, and I hope I'm not bothering you, you know, I've been following the blog, and I wanted to see what, you know, the latest thing was, see if maybe I could help out. Plus, Phillip said he wanted to tell you about something. If you don't want me here, I can just head home.
Well, I'll let you in. Sorry to put you through so much trouble, but you can never be too careful. Come in.
Did Grace tell you about what happened last night?
About the time traveler?
Time traveler? No, I mean about the girl.
Oh, here. Please take off your shoes when you come in. What girl, Grace?
I was getting to it, but we got so caught up with the time traveler. So, Marcia, fancy seeing you here. Marcia smirked at me and raised her eyebrows. I smiled at Grace and tried not to look too nervous. Nice to see you,
She sneered. I couldn't believe Phillip brought her here. And today, of all days, was a goddamn police investigation, not some kind of fun, leisurely thing he could bring a date along to.
I've noticed strange things since I moved out here. One day, I saw all these people get on a big bus at 5 a.m. Weird-looking bus. Had dark black windows. And then one day, a few weeks ago, I went out for a walk in the woods and I had the weirdest sound. This kind of rumbling out in the middle of nowhere. Not an earthquake either. I've been taking notes.
As
I always take notes. That way, I don't forget what I did that day. I have it written down, you know? I always keep track of things I see, irregularities. Some of them aren't important, but I have lots of notebooks at my house, if you want to look at them.
I'd love to, but as I was saying...
Some of them I might not want to show you, but the ones where the people got onto the bus, I know right where it is. It's in a blue composition notebook.
Good to know. But anyway, one of my inside sources reports that the complex underneath the water treatment facility spans several dozen miles. They did mind control experiments out there in the 1960s. Now they do testing on aliens. Have you ever stopped by the Arby's?
I did. I got the strangest feeling there from one of the chefs. He was looking at me sort of funny.
It's got a hidden entrance to the underground lab. So does the HEB in Fredericksburg.
How do you know all this?
Well, I can't exactly tell you that, just having met you and all. Anyway, you all were saying something about a girl. Please, fill me in.
Well, Megan Cortez, you remember her from the sinkhole?
Yeah, what about her?
Well, she snuck out of the base last night. She stole someone's ID and went out to some house in Pioneer Hills. Druggy type of place. They smoked some weed, sort of fooled around, looked innocuous at first. Then she collapses all of a sudden. Falls to the ground.
And when she got up, she vomited all over the place.
Interesting. Very interesting.
The government took her and her brother into custody.
Well, that's peculiar. I don't know what to make of it quite. What do we know about Megan Cortez?
Well, she's a 24-year-old. Works at Walmart, and I guess she's got Asperger's of some kind.
Asperger's isn't a diagnosis anymore. They just call it ASD level 1.
Right, well, they told us it was Asperger's, you know, so who knows?
Well, I know, but whatever.
Anyway, I didn't really know all that much about her. When we saw her last night, she looked like she'd been bruised pretty bad.
Somehow she was present at the sinkhole. It appears to have been injured in government custody, perhaps given some kind of substance which induced vomiting. Maybe one of the chemicals they developed back in its MK Ultra days.
It's just that they phased out Asperger's syndrome in the DSM-5, so her diagnosis is old. Wasn't in good shape, that's for sure. But I didn't hear her put up a fight when they picked her up.
The look in her eyes when it happened, too. She wasn't scared.
Right. She looked angry, like she was about ready to kill someone.
I wouldn't read into that too much. It could have just been a sensory thing.
Her brother was scared. Looked to be tweaking a little bit.
This is interesting information. I think it warrants further investigation.
Agreed.
I'm down if you want to investigate today.
No, we can't just rush into it. And we can't all go at once. It'll draw too much attention. Phillip, Grace, how about you visit the house you say Megan stopped at tomorrow? Maybe interview other folks who know who she is? Marcia, see if you can find anything about Megan online.
Right, I can do that. I can look up that doctor, too, see what I can find.
Good thinking. While you all work on that, I'll keep watching known government hotspots for any activity. We can reconvene tomorrow night.
No, I'm not staying up until midnight again. I did that almost every damn night last week, and I need some goddamn sleep.
Grace, all of us need sleep, but this is important. It could be a matter of life and death for Megan Cortez.
Well, if you really do want to just go home after work, I can fill him in on whatever we find.
Would you?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. In that case, sure. Reconvene at 2 a.m. behind a McDonald's dumpster for all I care.
That doesn't sound very safe. I don't like that idea.
How about Ann Schultz Bar and Restaurant, 11:30 p.m.? If we eat and drink in public, it will show our enemies that we're not afraid.
Really? Does that work?
Always.
Sounds like a plan. Hello, and thank you for listening to Rivers of the Mind, Season 2.5, Episode 6, entitled Sunday Morning. This show is written and produced by me, Timmy Vilgiate, and features Michelle Pearl as Marcia and Grace, Timmy Vilgiate as Phillip, and Collin Estes as both Dusty and the guy at the coffee shop. Recording for Season 3 is already underway, and will be released from December 2019 into 2020. If you'd like to support the show, consider going on to patreon.com/Timmy Vilgiate, which is spelled Vilgiate. Thank you and have a great day.